Okay, so I'm just going to jump straight into this topic today because imposter syndrome seems to pop up everywhere in the photography and YouTube circles I'm a part of. And while I'm kind of relieved that it's not just me, it got me thinking about what causes it in the first place and why do so many of us suffer with it to a crippling level. And the crazy thing is, I often even see the opposite of this. People who think their work is awesome. And it's kind of like watching American Idol where they think they can sing, but they kind of can't. And yet there are so many of us out here who have good or amazing work, even who are afraid to step up. So I've pulled together a list of some of those common factors that cause us to feel that horrible pit of the stomach or sort of dread. And let's be honest here, a self-imposed invisible barrier that stops us from putting ourselves out there. Now I've had to cut it down to the 3 top ones in my opinion, because it's such a huge topic, but I'll do more of it in the future if you guys are interested. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. And I'll keep the intro short today because I'm really interested to get into today's topic because it's something I'm quite passionate about. But in case this is the first time YouTube's introducing us, my name's Tracy from Red in the Wall Photography and I'm a small town photographer from New Zealand, thus the weird accent. So while researching this episode, I've realised that at the bottom of all the imposter syndrome issues is the feeling that you're missing something. I mean, other photographers look confident, their websites look great, they're so okay with their pricing that it's even up on their website. And I can even barely imagine charging that much, but if I'm being honest, I'm looking forward to the day that I can. And they've got gorgeous clients who look effortlessly like they've just stepped out of the pages of a glossy magazine. What secret do these photographers have that we're missing? They've got all their ducks in a row. Although, just maybe, they might be struggling with imposter syndrome too. They're just better at hiding it behind beautifully curated images. And by ducks, I mean things like they have checklists for shoot days and information on their website so that clients know exactly what to expect. And maybe a PDF download for their clients to help them choose their wardrobe for shoot day and contracts in place, etc. And speaking of checklists, I've created a PDF workbook called Worth Your Shot, the Photographer's Blueprint to Value and Vision, which is going to help you identify some of the causes of your version of imposter syndrome and tips to help combat each one. So you can go and download that for free in the description. And a big thanks to Google Gemini because I'm kind of tired today and the best I could come up with was checklist to confidence. But that didn't even make me feel confident, so thanks, Gemini. Anyway, this is quite a large topic, and obviously I can't get through it all. So if there's anything you'd like me to expand on or include in future videos, please just let me know in the comments. And before we get into it, I really want to point out that imposter syndrome is actually quite common. It can come up in many forms. Sometimes it's actually admitted and people name it as imposter syndrome, but more often than not, it pops up in some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. And here's the great thing. Once you identify the exact area or multiple areas that's holding you back, you can take really practical steps to fix each one of them. So let's get into it. Many of us are caught between what we'd like to charge and then our own personal assessment of where we're at with our photography competency. Not to mention this constant nagging feeling like we're going to screw up somewhere, so we shouldn't charge too much so that the client doesn't have high expectations of us. Basically, we shrink ourselves before we even start. Now, deciding where your rates should sit is a video all unto itself. But from a psychological level of what we feel that we deserve to earn, it actually sits on top of many of the other things on this list. Our fear of messing up, our fear of not delivering, our fear of not being as good as someone else. Our confidence to charge what we're worth isn't just solely based on how good our photos are. You can be a really good photographer and still not believe that you deserve to charge industry level rates. And here's the funny thing, most of us actually come from the corporate world somewhere. Like, we've all had actual jobs, but working for yourself is weird on like some financial psyche level because it's not like a job where they tell you what they're willing to pay you. You're actually in charge of how much you think you're worth, and that's kind of daunting. I mean, it's one thing to negotiate with your boss to get a pay rise after you've been there for a year, but imagine going into a job interview and your boss saying, "So, what do you think you're worth?" And then knowing that instead of being hired on your talent and your competence, you're potentially going to be hired on what you believe your personal value is. I mean, how awkward would that situation feel? However, you would go into that very same interview knowing your worth and having a salary expectation. So what we need to do is just transfer that over to your photography. And unlike a physical product where you work out how much the materials cost, plus time and taxes, and that's how you sort of come up with a price for your product, in photography, you're selling a digital product most of the time. And the client only sees that 1 hour session that they would have with you, and they're wondering why you would be charging them $1,000 for that. And herein lies the problem. If you're feeling imposter syndrome around the rates that you're charging, it's because truthfully, you're wondering how you can be charging $1,000 for this too. Consider it this way. Think of it like an iceberg. The client only sees 10% of what they're actually paying for. That's the top bit that sticks out of the water. They don't see the other 90% of it under the water, of the fact that you've still got hours worth of editing to do, years worth of learning, courses, masterminds, ongoing trainings, thousands of dollars of equipment that you've either bought or rented over the years. Not to mention paying for editing software like Adobe Lightroom, or a delivery platform like Pixieset, or an accountant or accountancy software, or your insurances, studio rental, etc. The list goes on. Now let's just stop for a second. I want you to imagine this. You want to hire a plumber. You ring up and he says, sweet, well, if you pick me up at 9:30 in the morning tomorrow and make sure you've got a couple of different size wrenches for me and a 1/2-inch piece of pipe, I'm pretty sure you'd hang up and go, never mind, thanks anyway. I mean, wouldn't you expect that a plumber had a van of his own with tools and equipment that he might need to complete your job? And yet, as a photographer, we think it's all about us, and it's not. It's a business. And when we set business rates, rather than just pricing ourselves, that's a whole other game. The only stop sign for your rates is your belief in what you think you're worth. And do I think that as a beginner, you should be charging the same rates as somebody who's got 5 or 10 years experience on you? No, of course, I'm not advocating that. But on the flip side, I think that the fastest way to burn out is by trying to fit in more work than you can realistically take on, because you're trying to hit a financial goal. So your sweet spot needs to be rates that reflect where you are on your journey, but that can also sustain you. So here's the solution. Start by downloading the PDF that's in the description below, and start by writing down A, your photography skill set like you would if you were going for a job interview and creating a CV, and B, write down all the expenses associated with your business. Even if you're just starting out, you've still got an internet bill to pay. You still have a camera. You still have editing software that you're paying every month. When you understand your expenses and your skills just like you would walking into a job interview, you'll start to understand the rates that you can expect. Okay, so you're a photographer that can do photography, but what are you actually photographing? Half of the battle is choosing what we want to photograph and who we want to photograph with. I'll give you a personal example. I love brand photography, but I don't want to work with massive brands like Coke, and I don't want to work with my local dairy. What I want to do is work with small artisan businesses with passionate people at their core who love what they do. I want to capture the depth of their passion and the details of their products and services. I want to capture the smell of the fresh brioche coming out of the oven. I want to hear the laughter of the guests at the local B&B as they sit around the campfire at the end of the night. And here's the thing, I know exactly what I want to photograph and who I want to photograph, and I can articulate it really clearly because I'm really clear on who and what I want to work on. Now, that doesn't mean I won't do other things or take on jobs that I'm less than excited about, because I'm still new to the world of stepping out and having clients too. But I know exactly where I'm going and what I want to capture. I know what lights my fire. And maybe you like a couple of different types of photography. I really want to do brand shoots, but I also love doing portrait photography. I'm not a super polished product photographer. I like grit and texture in my images. I'm not a concert photographer, but I could happily do a small event or a yoga retreat or something like that. I'd love to work on a project like a cookbook or oracle cards, something I could really sink my teeth into. But then I'd hate to be doing the same thing week in, week out. You need to be able to articulate the photography that you want to do so you can start to build a portfolio in that direction. Think of it this way. Do your friends know you as a photographer, or do they know you as a food photographer, or a brand photographer, or a street photographer? If you get specific, you'll stand out in people's minds, and it'll also make it a lot easier for Google to be able to suggest you when people are looking for your services. The best thing to do here is to start by considering what lights you up when you photograph it, or when you get into post-processing. What do you love doing? You can always find clients for your work, but first you need to know what you love, and it's also okay if it's multiple areas. Just get specific. I'll list off more types of photography in the PDF download, but let's start with a couple of questions just to get things moving. Do you like photographing people or things more? Do you like the challenge of quick photography and capturing capturing moments in time? Or do you prefer the challenge of perfect arrangements and taking your time to get things just right? Are you an outside person or an inside person? Are you introverted or are you extroverted? Do you need a lot of time to recharge, or does being around people help recharge you? So for instance, if you prefer to photograph things and take your time and you like being outside and you're a bit of an introvert, then nature photography could be for you. Selling prints online or at a local market or in a gallery might be more your style. But if you prefer people and capturing moments and you're more extroverted, you could maybe do wedding photography. You're always moving and you're challenged by the differences in location and people. And then there's the flip side to that. Let's say you love capturing moments and you would feel truly blessed to share in the best day of somebody's life, but you feel tired simply by the idea of spending an entire day photographing 200 people that you're never going to see again. Maybe you could do elopements. There are photographers that specialize in elopements either in their own area or they travel with the couple. It's a few hours rather than a whole day, and it's so much more intimate and less draining for somebody that's naturally more introverted. Or maybe you just love capturing your kids. One incredible photographer I follow on Instagram, her name's Tara here in photography, and I'll put a link to her Instagram in the description, only takes photos of her kids, but she does the most incredible post-processing on her images, and that's what she sells. She sells her time doing one-on-one tutorials with people online. She helps them go through their own images and teaches them how to edit like she does. So if your passion is photographing your own kids or your own animals, don't get caught up in having to just sell your photography services. Maybe you can sell your insane editing skills in your own personal style. Other photographers could turn to you to edit photos in a style that you've mastered, or you could teach your style like Tara does. So the solution here is to figure out what you love doing and what you could see yourself doing moving forward, and then start to curate your own portfolio based on that. You'll feel so much more confidence in your own zone of genius, and you'll be proud to send people to your website once it truly represents who you are and what you're passionate about. Right, so we've figured out what you want to photograph and who you want to do it for, but now you have no idea how to sell that. Putting together products or services can be daunting. You know what you'd like to be selling, but now putting that into a product box is a whole other ballgame. What if people don't like what you have to offer? What if you forget something and the client doesn't like what you've done because you've forgotten something that was really important to them? And what if there's something you don't want to do, like work evenings or weekends because you've got a family to raise? And what if somebody wants something that's not even on your list? Shouldn't you just leave it open to what the client wants? Okay, so this line of anxiety-inducing questioning can go on and on. When you start getting to the point of solidifying your offerings, that's when things get really real. Saying to a friend that owns a cafe down the road that you'll pop in tomorrow afternoon for an hour and take a few photos for their social media, and it'll just cost them a slice of that epic chocolate cake that they make. That's one thing when there's low expectations from both ends and what might be produced from that. But solidifying your professional, someone's actually going to pay me real money offering, that's the harder part. Putting out into the world that you're offering a 2-hour photo shoot with the opportunity for 3 outfit changes in 2 locations with a half-hour pre-consult for wardrobe and location choices and a deliverable of 40 images fully retouched, taking out any blemishes or itchy bites that will fulfill all of their website and social media needs, including wide shots for headers and on-brand portraits for Facebook and Instagram bio shots, while creating images that will speak to their audience and make them look more approachable to increase their know, like, and trust with their community. That's a daunting step, but it's one that's necessary if you want to truly understand what exactly you're charging for and feel confident in what you're offering. When you can't fully articulate the value that you're offering someone else, you'll never feel confident in yourself. One of the best ways to get past this is to go and look at other photographers' websites, not just local ones, but really go and have a look at what other photographers around the world are offering. And what you're looking for is how they're communicating their value. In the interest of keeping this video under 3 hours long, I'm just going to send you to one of the best websites I've ever come across. And don't get overwhelmed by this, by the way. This is a huge business and they have multiple photographers. This isn't just a one-man show. But I want you to go and study this website and see exactly how they're communicating the value that they're offering. And I say this because their prices are around $10,000 just for the shoot. This is Lynn and Jersa, a wedding photography business in Los Angeles, and they're exceptional at understanding the value they bring to their customers and communicating it. So have a look through here and Just pay attention to how they are communicating this. The solution here is to confirm exactly what you're offering. And just like those SMART goals retreats that we all went to in our previous corporate lives, you're looking for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound deliverable, so both you and your client are on the same page. Then you can have confidence in yourself that both you and the client know exactly what's happening. A few other causes of imposter syndrome that can show up might look a bit like these. You're unsure if people even want your products. This one's really easy. Go and look at other photographers' websites. If people are offering services and you're seeing the same services across multiple websites, then obviously there's clients looking for those services. So go check the websites and start there. But why would people pay me when they can do it on their own smartphone these days? Let's go back to our mate the plumber. Do you know that if you go onto YouTube these days, you can find a video on exactly how to renovate your own bathroom? Complete, step by step, what to buy, where to buy it. Just because we can do something doesn't mean that we feel confident doing it or that we have the time or inclination to do it. If I could pay someone to come through and clean my house from top to bottom every week, I would do it. Not because I can't, but because I really don't want to. Don't underestimate the fact that people put monetary value on not doing jobs. They're not just paying you to do a job. They're actually paying you so that they don't have to do the job. Okay, so you do the job, but what if somebody doesn't like the job that you did and asks for a refund? Best advice ever, join some Facebook groups. I will put the link to some of the Facebook groups I'm in the description box. This is a problem that every photographer seems to have at some point. And while it is occasionally the problem or the fault of the photographer, more often than not, there seems to be a lot of people that get buyer's remorse and then try and scam the photographer out of the money that they've already paid them by asking for a refund and or sullying their name so that they get a bad reputation. But ironically, a lot of them still seem to ask for the images. So moving forward, I know for myself, I'm going to be crafting 2 documents. One will be a what to expect when you work with me document, which will outline my exact process and exactly what they will get and how it will be edited and how it will be delivered and how it will expect it to be paid for. And the other document will be a contract stating the exact details of when and why a refund might be given. Trust me, if you join these Facebook groups, you'll put together these 2 documents in like no time flat, just based on the advice that you receive in the comments of the problems that the other people have had. Does that make sense? You're scared you'll forget something. Solution? Make checklists. Make visual checklists if you want to, of like even other people's photographs. This is for your reference only, so you can write notes under them if you want to. Don't forget this, make sure you do that, use these colors, that kind of thing. Put them in a clear file that's on brand for you and take them along with you. Also, and this is a pro note, ask the clients what the 5 most important photos that they need out of the shoot are. If you're doing weddings, ask the bride and groom what are the 5 most important photos to get, but also is there anybody there that you need to capture? Maybe grandma might be in her 90s, or great Aunt Petunia came over from the UK and this is the first time she's been over in 10 years and you might not see her again. So you do things like make sure that you get extra photos of them, especially with the bride and groom in them. You might think that checklists look unprofessional. It doesn't, by the way. There's a lot of top professionals who do use checklists and they're very, very pretty checklists. But you can even add that as part of your value proposition, that your checklist ensures that nothing gets unphotographed. I don't think if unphotographed is a word, but we'll roll with it. And you'd like your clients to contribute to that list to ensure that they get the most out of your time together. The value is in their eyes, not in yours. What if my camera equipment isn't good enough for what I'm photographing? Okay, this is an easy one. It either is or it isn't. When you create that awesome what to expect when you work with me document, you clearly state the parameters of what you're available to do. And you don't have to do this in like a mean way or a bossy way. If you don't have lights, then you simply say that you're a natural light photographer, which means that you won't be taking photos after dark or in dimly lit buildings. So say you're a wedding photographer. If the weather's good, you could put it in your contract or in your what you get when you work with me document that the final shots of the evening will be at sunset and you'll get all the awesome, fun, sparklers, group photos at golden hour. Work within the equipment that you have and be honest about it. And if people want something more, they can always hire someone else. There are plenty of professional photographers out there who are natural light photographers. They don't use studio lights. So you're in good company if you choose to go that way. Now there's so much more I could add to this list, but it would be a 3-hour video. But hopefully some of these have made you feel better about your imposter syndrome. Don't forget to download the free workbook in the description and join in some Facebook groups to get views from other photographers in the same situation. Let me know what I've missed out in the comments and I'll add it to my next video list. See you next time.